What's up, riders? Old Man Ronin here, and welcome back to the channel. Yeah, we're going to talk about the decline of big touring motorcycles today. I know. Well, it's I don't know if it's going to be the death of it, but you know, with the growing economic issues worldwide, with you know, stuff going on across the world, we don't need to even mention what's going on, and the cost of fuel going up, more and more people are looking at small, ultralight, light motorcycles to do their motorcycle riding because it's so much more cost effective, which means some of the bigger motorcycles are not being used like they used to be. For example, my Harley Davidsons. Never going to get rid of them, like you've heard a lot before, but we're going to not use them as much and go more towards these extremely fuel efficient, which is actually better for the planet as well too. But on our way talking about that, we're going to check out a couple older motorcycles that may be, and we'll wait till we get there, but might be worth looking at. They're just kind of sitting in a field, and see if they're able to be restored at a very reasonable price. So we'll let you know when we get over there. Yeah, I hooked the Tripper up today just to give it a different feel, and I turned off the main screen on the phone because I could actually see the map right here. But I wanted to use the Tripper and see how well it worked, taking its approximate location, because I'm not exactly sure where this place is at. Like I said, I got a Google map that had pictures as opposed to direct location, so we're going to check that out here just as soon as we get closer. But yeah, we thought we'd use the Tripper because, you know, guys ask me all the time, you ever use it? And I say, yeah, I do use it. It's probably more efficient for this, unless I'm going on to a planned route or something of that nature. But just a location that I'm heading to, I think the Tripper works really good for that. And like I said, it's telling us about the turns coming up and how it starts to flash. And I do get a kick out of the way that it does work. Is it perfect? No, far from perfect, but nothing is really perfect, is it? I want to talk about what I think is going to be the decline, not the death necessarily, but the decline of big motorcycles, particularly big touring bikes, over the next several years. I mean, you're always going to get the guys who are going to want to run as fast as they possibly can. But as far as the big touring bikes that are so prevalent right now, that everybody wants the biggest, fastest, newest in the whole 9 yards, whereas we've got these motorcycles now, particularly in America here, that are just so fantastic when it comes to fuel economy and giving you basically the same thing as what you can get out of a touring bike, except for those really, really high top ends, as far as, you know, high speeds. But as far as most situations, these light and ultralight cruisers do such a fantastic job. Now I'm going to be looking down a lot because I'm looking at the Tripper. But to be perfectly honest with you, I really think that this is going to be a big thing in the future here, particularly in the United States, where we're used to so much more. And I'm really guilty of that as well too. I've always wanted the biggest, fastest motorcycles that I could possibly get, because, you know, when you're younger, you want that adrenaline rush of a big motorcycle. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I had the GS 1100 ES. It's one of the reasons why I built my Harleys up as big as I could possibly make them for the stock size engine that they came with. And so I did that. I mean, like my Road King, it came as an 88 cubic inch, and I ended up, you know, if you guys listen to my live stream, I went into a little bit more detail of how I got the Screaming Eagle heads imported and polished them, bigger valves, bigger cam. I re-sleeved the jugs and bored them out to make them about 105 cubic inches now is what we're running, just a tad over, but not much, and put a new throttle body on it. I mean, the thing runs great. Doesn't get very good fuel economy though. No! We get better fuel economy out of our Fiat 500 than we do the Harley Davidson Road King. There's no doubt about that. But that's not what it's all about. For me, it was about having a muscle cruiser. The big push right now is for the big muscle cruisers right now. But I can see in the world of what's happening with fuel prices and the fact of emissions, that these smaller motorcycles, which are basically doing the same exact thing that the big cruisers can do, but at a more efficient price, and literally sometimes a tenth of the cost. Maybe not a tenth. Well, yeah, if you look at one of these motorcycles here, like the Meteor 350, and you compare it to a CVO Harley Davidson, they're upwards of $55,000 now, where these are right around $4,500. So you can buy 10 of these for one of those. And the difference is those motorcycles are going to go super, super fast, man. Super, super fast. But what they're not going to do is get you there any more fun. They truly do ride, as far as touring, exactly the same. But what are some of the reasons why I think that big cruisers are going to be on the decline? That's right, man, the weight. Particularly with us older riders, you know, I'll tell you, I've had a lot of times, particularly in the last couple years, where I've taken that Road King to places, and you guys know Iron Lady and I love to go to wineries and in rural areas and see some really cool sights and sounds and stuff of that nature. But we'll come up to a gravel driveway and it might be a little uneven, and she's on board, and I've got the big old Road King there, and I put my foot down in this roly-poly gravel, and she starts to kick out, and I'm sitting here fighting 900 plus pounds trying to keep it upright. I know one time we were down at Hocking Hills, which is a local park area that's really popular for folks in central Ohio, and I mean, we went to a restaurant that's kind of a fancy kind of restaurant, and I'll tell you what, I thought I was going to drop the bike there because you know, my knee kind of started to go out and it started to slide, and I yelled, hop off, and she was able to help me center it until I got that kickstand down, because stuff happens once in a while. And other times are, you know, I know a lot of guys that are, you know, you're going to your favorite watering hole, and it's got a little incline where you're parking at, and instead of being able to back in, you have to pull in, and when you pull in and trying to back the big motorcycle out, not all motorcycles have reverse like the Honda Goldwings do. But that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. These bikes are so powerful, but they're also so heavy, and so to be honest with you, the older I get, they're not as manageable as they used to be. Now, if I'm riding on a very controlled situation, the things are fantastic, and I'm not going to belittle any motorcycle. You guys know me well enough now to know that I don't say anything negative about any motorcycle as far as being bad-mouthing it. There's some things that I don't like about it that I'll mention, but if it's truly a piece of crap, you won't even hear me talk about it. I just will not talk about it because it doesn't serve any purpose. I'm not a negative kind of guy. Hey, I turned off my turn signal. You know, I rode that Versys 1000 here during the summer, and I'll tell you what, that was a fast motorcycle, guys. It was super fast. I mean, it could easily blow away my Road King, I'll put it to you that way. That Ninja engine in there was hyper fast, and I really did enjoy the speed a little bit. But to be perfectly honest with you, would I run it at that speed all the time? No. I'd like to get her up there a little bit, you know, just to show you that they can do it. That's why I say miles per hour. But when it actually comes down to it, is it something that I need to do? Because how often in your riding, and this is one of the things I tell people when they're looking to buy motorcycles, you know, you have to make it fit your lifestyle. Now, if you're out in the western part of the United States, say out in Wyoming or some of those other western states of just gigantic, long, flat land where you don't have a whole lot of turns, you're just going straight, or if you're in the German Autobahn and you're running unlimited speed limit, that's a different story altogether. But if you're in the eastern United States or states that have a lot of curvy roads, and you're on, you know, you're basically in places where the speed limit is 55 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour or under, do you really need all that extra power and all that extra loss of fuel efficiency? And that's something I always like to tell people. What do you want the bike to do for you? Because perfectly honest with you, like on my trip down to Virginia and my the Ronin ride down to Kentucky from where we're at, I didn't need any of that. I mean, I could do 65 and 70 miles an hour on this bike easily, and it's a 349cc engine. It really handled that kind of situation flawlessly. So you have to ask yourself, how often are you really goosing it? Now, I heard somebody earlier say, well, you know, I want to have a motorcycle to be able to get me out of problems, get me out of bad situations. And my first reaction is, why are you putting yourself into a bad situation? you know, you have to be constantly vigilant on a motorcycle. If you guys watch my live stream, I mentioned that earlier. You know, I got bumped off the road here a couple months ago on the very first ride I had on the Classic 500, bringing it back from, and I wish I would have filmed it, but I was just going to get the license to get it inspected. That's all I was doing. And some person wasn't paying attention and was texting on their phone and ran a stop sign and literally bumped into me with her car as far as hitting me in the side. Now, if I'd have had the Meteor, it would have hit my bags, but since I was on the Classic 500, it bumped my hip and my thigh and pushed me right off the road into the ditch and up into the woods. I was able to recover, but to be perfectly honest with you, that was not a fun day. I mean, I didn't enjoy that at all. And if it had been just a slight difference in area, I may have been in real big trouble. Well, let's give this a honk here. Always got to watch these blind tunnels. Oh, it sounds good in there, doesn't it? But what's another thing I think is making the decline of the big motors? Oh, that's fuel efficiency, man. Like I said, on this bike particular, and also the Classic 500, it gets really good mileage as well too. Not as well as this. The Classic 350 and the Meteor 350 get phenomenal fuel economy. I think the Meteor gets just a tad more, and I'm really curious when we get the Hunter what the fuel economy is going to be like that, because it really is a good looking motorcycle. I think it's going to be a perfect beginner's bike or somebody that wants to return to motorcycling. And I think it'll be a good bike for them that just wants to cruise around, not necessarily get on the highway, not necessarily take it on trips, but just ride. I think it'll be a really good commuter bike for that, and it'll be a lot of fun as well too. So that's something I'm looking forward to. But to get to my point, my Harley Davidsons get 41 to 45 miles per gallon, and that's about it. And if I'm really goosing it and getting on it, it gets less than that. And like I said, our Fiat 500 gets better fuel economy than that. And that's something that I want people to be aware of, that, you know, fuel economy is an important thing today. I mean, when you're talking about 80 to 90 miles a gallon, it sure does make a big difference compared to some of the other options that you have out there when it's down into the 40s of I mean, you're getting twice the fuel economy. Yeah, Tripper so far is doing us good. A little chilly this morning. I think the temperature is like 46 degrees, and I'll put the Celsius up in the corner there. That says we're only a 1/10 of a mile away. Let me pull my screen up here and see if I can see it. Like I said, I've never seen this. I'm just going off of pictures, so we will see if we're in the right area. Oh, there's a motor hickey there. That's not a Triumph. It looks like these are it right here. Huh. Not what I thought. When I was thinking of a vintage Honda or Triumph. Yeah. No. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking of a T100. That's what I was thinking. Well, sorry, Chris, not my style. I'm not a big fan of the sports touring anyways, even though they are fun motorcycles, you know, like that Versus. I really enjoyed riding it. I mean, it's something I would never buy. Be honest with you, this is more comfortable to me than that Versus was, and I can actually do it at a third of the price and a better fuel economy, and that's what I'm getting at. That's kind of a great point that I wanted to make right there, is those motorcycles really weren't for me on their style, plus the fact they looked like they needed a hell of a lot of work, and I just don't have the time. I thought maybe, well, if you'd be like an older Triumph, like an older Thunderbird or something like that, that might be something to look at, but yeah, nah. Not so much. But it's still a beautiful day to go out riding, don't you think? A little bit of cloud, a little bit of cool. Got the old Olympia, what do you call it, motorsports jacket on. I mean, nice and super warm. I mean, I still haven't broke out the bottoms yet. Anything under 35 degrees is when I'll start looking at the pants. But as far as the gloves, I'm still using one or two layer gloves. Haven't broke out the heated gear yet. I am a northerner, by the way, and that means I'm kind of used to the cooler weather. Not necessarily say I love it. I'm just telling you that I'm used to it. But you know, doing the things that we just did, coming out of somebody's driveway that we didn't know was a private driveway because there was no signs on it. But that's the kind of stuff that these smaller bikes are easy to handle. You know, they're maneuverable. They don't weigh 1.5 million pounds. And you know, even though I'm a big guy, I am getting older, so I know my muscle mass has dropped dramatically over probably the last several years, and probably the last several months even. And so the whole idea of this is, you know, I want to have a motorcycle that's going to give me pure joy, and these smaller motorcycles give me more joy per mile than what my bigger motorcycles or bigger cruisers can do. Yeah, there's a part of me that once in a while wants to go really, really fast. There's no doubt about it. Is it necessary? No, it really isn't. But when it comes down to it, guys, running down these roads here, I'm doing 55 miles an hour. I mean, this is my normal cruising anyway. And if I was on the highway, like I was down in the Appalachian Highway, I'd be doing 60, 65, and I still got plenty of throttle for it. So the 0 to 60 may take you a little bit of time, but the reality of it is I can still do it. And that is what's most important to me. And I turned off my turn signal again. Man, I love the heel toe shifter, which is why I put it on the Classic 500. I really do love a heel toe shifter. It's so much easier. I mean, I think my Sportster is the only one that doesn't have it. Well, the Himalayan doesn't either, but you know, it is what it is. Let's see here. Figure we'll get on the highways, a 70-mile-an-hour highway, and one of the things you have to do with these bikes is run them through their rev range. And I still have a little throttle left. It's going to electronically limit me there at 70, but it gives me enough that if I have a little slight angle that I need to pull on, I can throttle her up and she'll take me back up there. And I hope you guys can see that. And literally, I could keep her at this speed for as long as I want to because the engine is not overworking. So again, what do you want the bike to do? I'm still getting fantastic fuel economy. I'm running down the road following the speed limit at 70 miles an hour. I'm actually doing about 71, 72 right here. Let's see if we can go any faster, see what happens. Yeah, the speedometer says 75, and that's about as fast as we're going to go, because she is going to say, okay, that's as fast as you're going to go. So that's why I think that these smaller bikes are going to be the decline, not right away here in the US of A, already in the rest of the world, yes, but especially here in the United States, it's going to take a little time, but it will lead to the decline of the bigger engines in cruisers, because, not in sport bikes, but in cruisers, because they are so much more fuel efficient and they'll basically do anything you ask them to do. Well guys, as we're running down the road here at 70 miles an hour, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give us a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell notification button. Share and comment. You know I read all the comments and comment on as many as I possibly can. Until next time guys, ride safe and keep her on two wheels, baby.